Yep. So you're a mental health therapist just like me. I think all realtors are at this point, because you have to understand where people are feeling and you take on some of their emotions and things that the stresses that they have. And
Welcome to the Maryland Real Estate Influencers Podcast, where we explore the ins and outs of the local real estate market. Join us as we chat with industry experts, uncovering tips, trends, and strategies to help you navigate Maryland's real estate landscape. Get ready to elevate your real estate game. Let's dive in. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you again for tuning into another episode of Maryland Real Estate Influencers Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Healy. And today we have Kenya Hill with us. Thank you so very much for coming on board today and being willing to be interviewed.
thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jennifer. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. So would you take a few moments and tell the listeners about yourself and the broker that you work for and how long you've been in the business?
Well, I've been with Keller Williams for about 7 years now. I mainly work with buyers and sellers. The most thing I love about Keller Williams is the training and the culture.
Okay. And what is it about the training and the culture that you like so much?
The culture is that everybody's always willing to help. It's
Oh,
always somebody in the office that has an answer to a question that you may need.
that is so wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. Now, what made you
And
become a realtor?
I found my own home.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
that
I
is so
was working
interesting.
with, yes. And I was also working in property management.
Oh, okay.
And I figured, I was like, hey, if I can lease this apartment to 100%, I'm pretty sure I can sell a house.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I took that leap and I've been moving ever since.
That is so wonderful. That is great. Um, and is there anybody in your family that is a realtor, or that you got in this from, or is this completely out of right field?
Completely out of right field.
Wow. That is so interesting. I love asking that question. Sometimes you get legacy individuals that I speak with that have family and friends in this business and kind of grew up in it. And I always think that's a very important question to ask, only because I know my kids, and as long as I've been in this industry, my kids like want no parts of real estate.
That
And I
I
just,
try to get my Yeah, I try to get my nephew to at least put lock boxes on for me and I'll pay him. He's like, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, okay, I guess we won't have a family business.
I'm glad it's just not me that sees
No.
that aspect of it. My kids saw me working a lot of nights and a lot of weekends, and they wanted more of a 9 to 5 gig. So they all went in different directions, which is just fine. Which is just fine. I
Exactly.
understand that too.
Hmm.
So when you are not in real estate or focusing on buyers and sellers, do you have any things that you like to do for recreation?
So for recreation, I just realized that I'm an outdoors girl.
Mm.
Okay. I'm going to be on a trail no matter the weather. I want to be outside getting the little bit of sunlight that I can and just taking some time to observe what's around me versus being so fast paced that I'm not sitting still.
That's beautiful.
So I do that, but then I'm also a psychiatric rehabilitating coordinator, which means I help people with in the mental health field.
Oh,
So
that's
I do that
wonderful.
part time. I have about 6 clients that I help monthly.
That's wonderful. That's got to be actually really helpful in when you're communicating with buyers and sellers, just to learn that the psychology behind why people do what they do. Not so
I'm
much the,
still learning that.
oh, sure.
Yes.
That I always find the most important information. Sometimes I think we forget to ask the most basic questions as to why people do what they do or what is their thought process, because I think it's sometimes it changes so very
It
much
does.
from what their thought process is to what they're doing. Even when people say, I'm going to wait until the market calms down before I purchase, then I'm like, okay, that's completely fair. Let's have a conversation about that though, so you can understand what you are actually saying.
Mhm.
You know,
I
the
always say,
market
well, what does calm down mean? Like, what is your
exactly.
definition of calm down?
That's it. Because when these rates drop, it's not going to be calm in this marketplace. The values are going to increase. And so we have to have an honest conversation about that so that people know what they're getting into. And if they choose the wait, which is fine, they need to know what market they're going to walk into when it does. What's the likelihood the market's going to be when the rates do drop, and to make sure that they're prepared for that. So if they want to hunker down and save some cash, I think it's a great idea, but just so that they know. So again, I love that, going deeper into why people do what they do so that they understand what it means in their business and into their transaction.
Yep. So you're a mental health therapist just like me. I think all realtors are at this point, because you have to understand where people are feeling, and you take on some of their emotions and things, that the stresses that they have, and it's best
Very.
not to try to take it on you, but just to
Mm-hmm.
understand where they're coming from.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's so
Hmm.
helpful. So you said that you deal with buyers as well as sellers. Do you have a preference, or are you open to both?
I'm open to both.
Okay.
I am open to both. It seems like I have more listings. Well, they actually are about 50-50 actually. But in this current market, I have more listings than buyers.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So I have to ask this question when I hear that statement. So do you have like a goal that for every listing that you have? I've heard agents tell me that they want to get 2 buyer leads from every listing that they have. Or, their goal is that, not, maybe not a goal, that's the wrong word, maybe to keep the home on the market for at least a weekend or at least 7 days so they can try to get some of those buyer leads off of that listing. Do you have a focus when you're focusing so much on listings, on if you're looking for that listing to bring in buyer leads for you and or your team?
I actually always look forward to having buyer leads, but I never get it. It doesn't happen for me that way. I'll have an
Gotcha.
open house. I'll have several conversations with buyers. They're either represented or just being a looky-loo. And the follow-up, I feel like I have really good follow-up, but I never get a buyer
Isn't
from
that
my
interesting?
listings. It really is. I'll have people call me in the neighborhood and tell me that they want to list their house. That's great, but never a buyer that says, "Hey, I see you have this listing. I'm looking to buy a house too." That never happens for me.
Mm. So do you have like this amazing marketing system that you've created for yourself and your listings when it comes to the type of photos, the type of videos, the type of drones, the staging? What sets you apart as a listing agent?
So for me, typically when I know I have a coming soon listing, I'll post just the outside, and then it's a company called Zip Flyer. Zip Flyer will email all the realtors in any area that you select.
Okay.
So I can choose. So typically I email realtors from Maryland, DC, Virginia, of course in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Howard County, because even though they may not be first time investors, home buyers, they are investors looking for turnkey properties.
Mm.
So I want to make sure that I get my listing in front of every realtor via email. That way, that's one option. Then I also do reverse prospecting. So if you see my coming soon listing and I know to buyer, I'm going to call you personally and tell you about the open house this weekend.
Hmm.
And depending on the weather, I may door knock and invite neighbors, but I always stand outside of the property. So as neighbors are coming in and out of their homes, I invite them inside to the open houses. I also email the lenders and say, "Hey, we have this business, we have this business relationship. I have a listing coming soon. What buyers do you have that you just pre-approved?"
Girl, I'm loving what you're
So
saying. I love what you're saying. I love me a good open house, but only if it's hosted in the right way. Um, and
absolutely.
it's all about that marketing of that open house and to make sure that we get the most bang for our buck, because there's nothing worse than being there for a couple hours and nobody comes in
And nobody shows up.
when
And
it's
I
not
didn't ate all
marketed.
the snacks, waiting for
Exactly.
everybody.
Exactly. And it's sadly a waste of time, but I love it when it's done, when it's orchestrated like that, and you
Mhm.
have the pool in there and people know about it, especially when there's a coming soon. So I love what you're doing. That
Thank you.
is wonderful.
Mhm.
Well
And it
done.
doesn't take a lot to do. A simple email, text your lenders, hey, here's my listing. Who do you have?
Exactly. Yeah, and
Mhm.
then and just as people are walking through, I always my thing for open houses that I do is when I go, I like to ask every single person that walks by two
Mhm.
questions, and it's the seller is going to want feedback from this open house. That's typically the whole point in
Absolutely.
having them. Please tell me the one thing you liked most about the house and the one thing you liked least about the house. And then I write them all down and then I give them to the agent or the team lead, whoever's doing it, so that they
Mhm.
have the data to take back to the seller. And if it needs to be adjusted, if something's off, if there's an odor in the house, maybe they were smokers that lived there, there's something that
Mhm.
can be done. Or if there's even if somebody says, I love it, it's a condo, but it doesn't have a balcony and I really wanted some front space. That's nothing that you can do anything about, but it's great to communicate that so that the sellers know that there are people walking through that. And this is a fair assessment of what other people may be having concerns with as well. So I always like to ask that question, even to the neighbors,
Mhm.
whoever is walking through, just tell me one
Absolutely.
positive thing and one negative thing, and then write that off, because I really always think it's really important to have that stuff documented.
Absolutely, because I
Yes,
always like to have some feedback to report to my seller. I
exactly.
never like to come back and say nobody showed.
Right, exactly. Or they came and nobody has, oh, they said, oh, it's nice. No, I don't want to hear it's nice. Tell me the thing you
Right.
like most and the thing you like least.
Absolutely.
Because I think that
Mhm.
that's really important at the end of the day to find that information
Yes.
out. So
Yes.
I know that we're recording this at the beginning of November already. I can't even believe that we're here already.
And it's cold.
It's frigid. If we're phrase Facebook friends, you will laugh at my Facebook post because I'm like, it's freaking cold.
It
And I'm a
is.
summer and spring girl. I am literally in hibernation mode. I've got my flannel on today because my feet, I got like warm, fuzzy socks on.
Fuzzy socks. Yes, I have mine on as well. Yes.
I'm a hot mess because I just hate this cold, and we're not even into the crux of it yet.
We're not even there yet.
Girl, I'm with you. I'm with you. So I'm wondering here, is that another good question to ask is about, and I'm really, this is something I just love to ask people about your daily success plan. Do you have one? When does it start? Does it start the evening before? Does it start the morning of your day? And what's your daily success plan look like?
So mine is the night before. I
Mm-hmm.
like to write down the things that I need to do the following day because sometimes I might wake up and be like, oh, what am I supposed to do today? I want to make sure I didn't forget anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have a CRM. So typically I wake up and I just literally started adding these two different things to my plan. I wake up at 7 a.m. versus 5. I realize 5 is a struggle for me. Okay.
I'm with
So I
you.
wake up at 7. I do a 15-minute meditation and I stretch for at least 20 minutes
Mm,
because I'm almost 40 and my body's telling me I need to move it just a little bit more. You know, showing houses is not enough. Okay. So that's a little bit of physical activity that I can at least get in.
yeah.
Okay. So at least so by 8 o'clock, I'm up. I have my journal. I already have what I'm going to do today, and then I'll start making calls. I will check on. So Keller Williams, our CRM is called Command.
Mhm.
So we have something called Smart Plans, where I send out either a newsletter starting at the first of the month is November, a November newsletter. Make sure that is already being sent out to my database. I make sure I touch at least 10 past clients just to say, hello, I'm thinking of you. And that's mostly where my business comes from are referrals.
I love
So I
it.
must really do a good job with staying in touch with my past clients.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to I always love my referrals, but in order for me to increase my business, I need to go a little bit above and go a little bit harder to get newer people.
Yeah.
So if that's being done, I started going to social events. I try to
Oh,
go to at least 2 social events a week.
I love that.
Thank you. So
I
the one
do.
tonight, I never knew that Baltimore City and Baltimore County and even Howard County have a leadership committee.
Hmm.
They
No.
have a class for, I think it's 6 months where you actually have to graduate. It's a tuition that teaches you how to be a leader. And so I always attend those meetings and I'm networking with all various types of people. So I'm doing that. I'm just trying to get in front of more people. So I'm forcing myself to actually go outside and meet more people in a social setting.
I
I'm
love it.
not the girl that's going to pick up the phone every day and lead gen, even though it's part of it. That's not my main focus.
Gotcha. I do have a
Mhm.
question to ask, if I may. When you say that you're getting in front of 10 past clients a day, in what
Mhm.
format are you doing that
I call or text.
in? Okay. And are you getting
Mhm.
a good response?
Absolutely. They're always like, hey, Kenya, it might be as simple as, it's November. Don't forget to change your home filter. It was like, I didn't even think of that, Kenya.
Yeah.
Or somebody's birthday is coming around the corner. It's just so simple. And they're like, oh, I thought about you. A lady said she wanted to purchase a house. And I'm like, oh, okay. That wasn't even what I called for, but thank you.
Yes.
I always give a lot of gratitude.
Oh, that's wonderful. I just found another trainer, because I'm always looking at these real estate trainers, whether it's Tom Ferry or Brian Buffini. And this one is Krista Mayshore. And she does a lot via social media.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of marketing in my background. So it's been a thing that I've been interested in. So I'm
Mhm.
doing her training coming up in the 13th, 14th, and 15th of the month. But
Mhm.
one thing that she has us doing is reaching out to 10 people a day as well. And we have to do
Mhm.
video calls to them. So even if they don't have, like, it's not one FaceTime to another FaceTime, it's making a video, and I just check them out on Facebook. I check them out and see what's going on in their lives. And she's usually the first 10 or 20 people that hit in my feed. And I'm just reaching out to them, making a video and just saying, hey, I see your son got married and had a baby, and this is happening in your life, and that's happening in your life. And I just have that conversation with them on a video. And then I just send it to them,
Oh,
whether I send it via text or I send it via Facebook Messenger or Instagram. I'm just communicating with them. And I am getting so much response from that because I'm reaching out to these people. Like, my son is 22,
mhm.
to somebody that was in his little league, 15 years ago, 18 years ago. And I'm reaching out to those parents that I haven't connected with besides on Facebook, but now having that organic conversation based on what's going
Oh,
on in their lives. I'm telling you, girl, I'm having field day with this and how well it's converting. So if I could share that with you, if
oh,
it's
that's
something that you're
amazing.
interested to do, it might just, again, level you up a little bit, or double down on your efforts.
Yeah, because you know what? Social media gives me anxiety. I
Girl.
don't know why. It's like, and I've taken a class on it. I know I'm completely overthinking it. Completely. I've taken classes on it. I've planned a social media calendar for a week.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it for a week. The next week, it's like I'm not doing that anymore. It's like,
It is hard. I actually used to do all social media about 10, 12 years ago, and I actually burnt out. It was a hard burn too, because I was bringing in 250 leads to 300 leads a month. And
uh-huh.
following up on leads is not like following up on referrals. And I burnt out like bad. And I didn't want to touch social media again. So now I'm starting to touch it, but
Mhm.
in my mind, I'm in control of it. It's
Yes.
only in my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it because it's because I'm doing it the way I want to do it. And it's working for me now. But I have to tell you, I do fabulous with accountability. So I always
Right.
want somebody that, like, wants to do something with me and have that accountability every day. So I have an accountability partner now. We chat at 11 o'clock every day because I make my phone calls from usually 9 to 11.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, it's like 9 to 1 because I talk so much. But I try to get them done, and we do that accountability. It's like, did you do today? And I'm like, I
Mhm.
need that. Thank you. And I'm like, oh, I got to get this stuff done because I got to have that call, and I need to have check before that phone call comes in.
Absolutely.
So, if and when you're ready, girl, I'm happy to do some accountability with you, whatever you want to do, because I really do
Yes.
enjoy. I thrive off of it. Without it, I don't thrive so much.
So, I when you by saying that, I can at least just start by liking and commenting and saying congratulations. That way they see my face.
Exactly.
Right? It's something that's so small. Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
And just
Mhm.
make sure like you do that for 15 minutes a day or whatever it is, if you
Uh,
want to start like that. And then, maybe making the little videos and sending it is down the road. It's okay to just do something new,
do
something,
something.
and then
Yes.
something that you're aggressively trying to get out of your comfort zone, leaning into the uncomfortable, because
Mhm.
I think that's where we all grow and stretch. And I definitely
Yes.
God made us to be average individuals. I just don't. He made us to be extraordinary. I
I was about to
believe.
say we're extraordinary individuals. Yes, we
Yeah, I
are.
think that's what he's
Mhm.
created, and I think there's some
Yes.
of us that lean into that, and there's some of us that go like, "I'm good right now," and that's cool.
That's
Everybody's
a
different.
personal choice. Yeah, that's fine. But I just want to go a little bit further. That's all.
That's it. That's what I want to do. Well, I wanted to say, I know that the business has been really chaotic over the last 12 months. And again, we're
Yes.
recording this in November of 2023. And I want to know, what have you done over the last 12 months that you are still producing with some really great numbers here? What are you doing? I mean, specifically, now you mentioned that you're doing a lot of listings. You mentioned that it's a lot of from your sphere of influence and that you're calling 10 people of those sphere a day. Is there
Yes.
any other things that you're doing to stay in contact with them? And the newsletter, pardon me.
Oh, yeah, and a newsletter. Staying in contact with them as it was just basically talking to them and being readily available and producing information for them.
Mm,
We're at a trying time right now in the real estate, not only just interest rates, but other things. And I just want to be there to be able to explain things. So I have been taking trainings.
mm,
Keller Williams have a class called Bold. I've been also speaking with other realtors as well to figure out things that we can do to overcome,
mhm.
because it's so much more that we all can do collectively.
I
So
definitely
whenever in a transaction, you really want to work with the other realtor and not go back and forth because of clients. You really want to build that relationship with them and everybody else. So I just been trying to stay on top of building relationships with everybody in the industry.
I love that. That's
Mhm.
so important to have
It's
a
so
good name out
important.
there. And when people, they're either going
Absolutely.
to look at your name coming through and go, oh, or they're going to say, ooh,
Absolutely. Like I've done a transaction with Kenya, or I've heard about Kenya, or I've met Kenya before. Let me see what her client is all about.
exactly, exactly. Now, what do
Mhm.
you think is one of the largest challenges right now in today's marketplace for home buyers? What are you seeing? I mean, I know you don't do a
Um,
lot of them. So, of the ones that you have, what are you seeing?
the education piece.
Mm,
So for me is talking to them. They're like interest rate. I'm like, well, do you even know what the interest rates are and where did you hear about the interest rates? Oh, the interest rates are 8%. I'm like, okay, so have you spoke with a lender? What is your ideal mortgage payment? They'll tell me. And I'm like, well, did you know that if you spoke with a mortgage lender and you tell him, he runs all your information, and if you're comfortable with that mortgage payment, then the interest rate doesn't even matter.
mm-hmm, absolutely.
And then you'll also have your house. You'll have a payment that you're happy with. And then most importantly, when rates eventually, if they do go down, you have more equity and you can refinance out of it. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the educational piece of what they're hearing from the media, or my friend bought her house this way. Everybody's situation is completely different.
Yes.
You don't work the same job, the same hours, etc. You don't have the same things that
Don't have
that
the same
person
skills.
has. Exactly. So
Yeah,
it's just the education piece. So I
absolutely.
have one buyer right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed that I'll explain something to her, but then it comes back. And I'm like, well, maybe I have to explain it in a different way.
Sure.
So to make sure that she understands what's going on. Because I tell people this all the time. I never want you to buy a house from me and then say you don't want the house afterwards, or
Right.
that something's wrong, or that you didn't understand. So it's
Good.
just mainly the educational piece and
Okay.
seeing the urgency of them.
Mm-hmm. Now, can I ask the same question? What are the tips that you have for sellers in this market at this time?
For sellers, I say don't overprice it. Yes, we do have limited inventory, but you also have to consider the appraisal and things of that nature. And if you want a buyer, because eventually you will be a buyer again. The
Mm-hmm.
way you're treating a buyer in this transaction is the same way that somebody else can treat you when you're buying your next property.
Yes. So
So
true.
they never think of that. They never think of that.
Yes. That is so true. My daughter's in the marketplace right now, and um, she's seeing a lot of people price their homes at the top of their market.
The
Um,
top of the
but
market.
the HVAC system is 30 years old. The roof is
Absolutely.
30 years old. And she's watching people remove contingencies and remove and add appraisal gaps in. And she said, but mom, this house, it's at the top of the roof. One and two, everything's old and outdated. Like it's all going to be breaking soon. And if I'm at the top, how are we going to be able to fix this? Like she's really thinking it through, which
Oh,
I'm so
you
impressed.
should. Yes.
Yes, and it's so important that people think that way, and that the agents are there to encourage that as well. I understand that each county has about 7,000. I know I'm in Anne Arundel, and we have 7,000 displaced uh, new home creations. People like my daughter that are living with family, that don't want to be living with family, that want to create her own family but can't find a home. So I know we
Right.
know the statistics show that there's 7,000 of them here in my county of Anne Arundel. I'm sure there's equally the amount
In
of people in
Baltimore
Baltimore
County.
City, Baltimore
Yes.
County, and Hartford County.
Mhm.
So I'm sure there's so many people that are displaced, but it's making sure, like you said, that they're educated about the real important stuff.
Absolutely.
It is so
It,
very important.
I tell them, you want to go into a home and you want to be comfortable. If you want a new sofa and living room set, you want to be able to have money to afford that.
Exactly.
You don't want to have to come in and replace something. Me, when I bought my home, of course, I was clueless. I came in a month later, my skylight starts leaking every time it rained. And it rained inside luckily, it was in the bathroom and it would rain inside the bathtub.
Thank goodness.
I only had $1,000 left to my name after I purchased my home.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to wait until this pay and this pay and this pay to get the roof and the skylight insulated. And I don't want people to go through that.
All
That's
right.
why I also tell them have a budget.
Yes.
What's meant for you will be for you.
Yes.
If you did not get this house, it was a reason you did not get this house. And new houses come on the market every day.
Yes, they do.
Just be ready, know exactly what you want, and just be lenient of that. You're going to have to make the house perfect once you buy it.
Yes.
It's
And you
not
got to make it
perfect
your
going
own.
in. You
You're
have to make it
absolutely
your
right.
own. Yes. And then I advise them to get a home warranty because you never know what happens. And that's
Mm-hmm.
only on mechanicals. Can't help,
Right.
things like I had, but yes.
Right. Right. Right.
So it's really the educational piece, really, and it's just really making them understand. I know you want to move, I know, but just think about it.
Exactly. Slow it down for just a moment.
Slow it down. And
I,
the sellers as well.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know you want to move, I know you want to do this, but I want you to think about the things that you need to do to get it done. Your timeline will have to get it done because I don't want you to just to say, well, the home's been on the market for 2 weeks already. I need you to drop the price.
Mm-hmm.
Give it time. The average home being sold is on the market for at least 30 to 45 days right now.
Mm-hmm.
It depends if it's not priced right.
Yes. Makes a big
See?
difference.
Makes a big difference.
Huge difference. Um,
Hmm.
So if I had to ask you your one superpower in your real estate business, what do you think your real estate superpower is?
That I am relatable.
Mm,
I am relatable. If you want me to come in sweatpants and show your house, I'm going to do that. If you want me to be dressed up, I'm understanding because I know how to listen. I am
Mm,
here to listen, to better provide you to help service you and your family's needs,
mm,
whether it's buying or selling.
I love that. Thank you. That is so important information. That really is. I know that we're coming up to the last 4 minutes in this, and I think you're so unbelievable, the things that you have shared, and I'm honored
Thank
that
you.
you came onto the podcast and sharing
Thank
this
you.
with our community.
Mhm.
If there is somebody on here that's listening and saying, "Oh, I want to know more about Kenya's business and about working at Keller Williams," and you mentioned Bold, at which I am a graduate of Bold, and I want to know more about Bold. How can people reach out to you to find out more about Keller Williams, find out more about you, and maybe find out more about the training that is offered?
Well, you can reach me in my cell, which is 443-202-7006. My email is also kenyasellsmd@gmail.com. My website is www.kenyahill.kw.com. I am on social media. I will eventually start posting a little bit more, but my Instagram is yes, Kenya. And that is YASSS_Kenya. My office in Keller Williams is located in Towson, Maryland. We're at 1104 Kenilworth Drive, the third floor. And I'm
Thank
more than happy to help, assist, or have any questions answered if you have any.
Thank you so very much, Kenya, for coming on here and being willing to be interviewed and being
Mhm,
open and kind of pulling back the curtain and sharing a little bit about your life and your business with our listeners. I think
mhm,
that that is so valuable. And to all of you that are out there listening and or watching, if you're watching on YouTube or listening on one of the 15 different podcast platforms, I'm going to ask two favors. And the first favor I'm going to ask is for you to forward this to two of your realtor colleagues that you think would find this beneficial. And the second
mhm.
thing I'm going to ask is please leave a review of this interview today so that we can grow from it and we can reach more realtors locally. Thank you so very much, Kenya, for coming
Thank you,
on today.
Jennifer. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Have a great
Okay.
afternoon. Thank you for joining the Maryland Real Estate Influencers podcast. We'd like to ask you two favors. Number one, forward this podcast to three of your favorite realtor friends. They'll thank you for it, and I'll thank you for it too. Number two, we'd love reviews. It helps get the word out.